Let me take you back in time to Quebec, September 13th, 1759. North America was in the thick of what would be a 7-year war. British armies led by General James Wolfe cleverly ambushed French soldiers as they climbed the cliffs onto the Plains of Abraham. French General Louis-Joseph Montcalm rushed troops to defend the city. This epic battle resulted in British victory, but ended in a horrific tragedy for both sides. Thousands were killed and wounded on the battlefield, including both of the British and French generals. Wolfe was shot 3 times shortly after the first shots were fired, and died moments after the French surrendered. It was a similar fate for Montcalm, as he was shot on the battlefield and died the next morning in Quebec City. This event is monumental in North American and European history. People seen Wolfe as a martyr, a hero, the example of a perfect soldier. Many paintings were created between 1760 and 1776, but none more famous than The Death of General Wolfe by Benjamin West. West's portrayal of the tragedy, like many other depictions, highlighted the last moments before Wolfe died. It was how West conceived and produced the relation of actual events that truly made this piece a success. It's both fact and fiction, raveled up in narrative that makes the viewer believe, relate, and admire. Benjamin West was a British classical-style painter born in North America. He painted The Death of General Wolfe in 1777, and it was first exhibited in 1771. West wanted to create a piece that would glorify Britain's national pride, and also interject pieces of his own heritage. West chose to paint his subjects in contemporary attire instead of the classical style. Not at all what West's normal painting style was at the time. This painting told the whole story, a pyramid composition with a circular narrative that followed around him. Wolfe is the focal point, lying limp in a Christ-like posture. Above him, a British flag of union, resembling a cross. This pose is very reminiscent of other lamentation depictions of Christ. Wolfe surrounded by 12 people, maybe referring to Christ's 12 disciples? From this central point, our gaze is drawn to the top left, where you can see the ships rolling in onto the Plains of Abraham. Dark, nasty clouds show the thickness of battle. As you move right, the epic battle continues. A pass over the group of men huddled together, you can see one pointing to a little man holding up his hat. This was a symbol of victory. Then, we're drawn to the Native American who is gazing back at General Wolfe, concluding the story. This type of circular storytelling was very common with Native American culture. West told the story of Wolfe's death with a combination of fact and fiction. He was shot on the battlefield, but the facts show there were only 3 people present at the time of his death. West chose to have him surrounded. Who are these people? Let's take a closer look at the man in the green coat. This is believed to be Sir William Johnson. He landed in North America as a young boy from Ireland. Johnson wore many hats. He spent time as a farmer, diplomat, merchant, colonial officer, English baronet, and quite possibly his most important role was building and regulating the regulations and connections to the Native American population in America. As the superintendent of Indian Affairs, Johnson influenced how the image of the Native Americans were perceived. Johnson was placed in the painting pointing to the signal of victory. Playing a crucial role in both composition and story, he was placed in the foreground. His contrasting green-colored coat and closeness to the Native American implies he was important, possibly having an impact on the outcome of the war. The catch is, he was not there that day on the Plains of Abraham. His presence in the painting was a choice that West made. When looking at the native, West portrays him as exotic, savage, and unique. The term noble savage describes early inhabitants free from society's traditions, norms, and living in harmony with nature. the Indian not only conveys the historical narrative, but it helps you understand the setting. People wanted to see and relate to this image of a distant land with exotic beings, and yes, the land was his. It's like he was placed as an allegory to the entire setting. His knees facing Wolfe with a clenched hand on his chin, his face filled with sorrow, perplexity, and contemplation, which West used in many of his other works. He is a symbolic representation of the stance and representation of indigenous peoples. Sided with the British, it is the Indian thinking about the tragedy of Wolfe's death, or is it about his own mortality? Wolfe and the Native American exist on the same physical and compositional plane. They create a conversation and a tone of loss and respect. Johnson and the Native American are crucial figures in creating a setting and a narrative within the whole painting. This inner narrative is what is lacking from other depictions of the death of General Wolfe. There are many other renditions of the death of General Wolfe, many of which are similar in thread, but lack that special something. Edward Penny's painting, The Death of General Wolfe, tells a more historically accurate depiction of Wolfe's death. He created two different versions, both of which he chose to paint with the subjects in contemporary dress. Men lie dying or wounded on the ground, infantry taking aim, and a smoky haze fills the sky, while Wolfe lies limp, held up by three concerned comrades. One man stands above Wolfe, informing him of the coming signal of victory. The second attempt is quite the same, but the battle in the background, it's not there. It focuses on the general and the three men that surround him. In the background, you still see that man flagging the end of the war. Another example is James Barrie. He painted the death of General Wolfe in 1776. Barrie was said to have been inspired by West's Wolfe. He kept a historically accurate narrative where Wolfe is away from the battleground, surrounded by a few grief-struck soldiers. In the background, you can see the recurring man holding up the hat. Unlike both West and Penny, Barrie seemed to have painted these figures in a classical nude, then draped the contemporary clothing over them. It is easy to see the similarities in all three, as they do share that common thread. The shortfall came from Penny and Barrie's focus on the exact. West's success can be contributed to the way that he was able to produce the image, that and not only told the story, but captured the essence of the whole setting and period in time. West's statement should be interpreted in not absolute, but in relative terms, as he did make a move towards historical accuracy, but he also recognized that his audience would not find the moral tone and inspirational power they yearned for and found in classical paintings if he represented a fully realistic image. Fact and fiction, skill and application, West was successful in capturing an audience. For years and years and years and years to come, West's Wolfe will continue to amaze, inspire, and encourage us to remember this pinnacle time in both Canadian and British history.